bit of breath work. So just come into any comfortable position. I think I'm going to sit on my heels, but prop myself up a little bit. Nothing too intense to start. We want to be able to just focus on the breath and relax our spine. We usually have a kind of a target area that for the class, which is usually joints or sometimes combination of joints and some muscle groups. Tonight, I'd like to focus on really the organs. This is a kind of organized around stomach and kidney meridian stuff, but if you don't know a lot about meridian theory, which you don't have to at all, there is good effects of yin on our organs, and these are particularly organs of digestion. Yin has really helped me, and so every once in a while I like to do that. Now, of course, we'll move our joints, we'll move our muscles, but we're going to have this focus in the torso, in this belly area for the, so let's just get started by kind of breathing into the belly. There's lots of names for this kind of breath. We're going to start with, I'm just going to call it for tonight, yin breath, with the idea that the inhale is associated with this rising energy, and the yang energy, and the yin energy is the more settling energy. So one way to kind of access our attention into that area is with a breath that is a little uneven. So just come into your breath, kind of notice what kind of count you could put with it. You know, it might be something like I'm inhaling for 1, 2, 3, 4. And in natural breath, you'll kind of exhale at that same count. And it really doesn't matter how you count it or what you count. Just take a moment to count the breath, the duration of the inhale and the duration of the exhale. Now, what I'm calling yin breath tonight is really just where we purposely make the out breath longer. So you might start with just making it 1 or 2 counts longer. In this full grounding breath, you'll actually find that you can make it almost twice as long comfortably. So it might be something like inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale nice and slow, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, I don't want you to get hung up on the count. As long as you're slowing that exhale down compared to the inhale, you're going to feel this effect of a grounding breath. Just do that a couple more rounds, kind of getting a feel for it. We'll come back to this breath throughout the practice, so it might change as we come out of our upper mind thinking, analyzing, kind of come into our bodies. It will naturally probably get a little more yin-like, a little longer on the exhale. Now at the bottom of the exhale, if you're really letting go of all the air, kind of emptying the lungs, the diaphragm lifts and you feel a deep contraction in the belly. So the belly expands on the inhale. And see if you can find that kind of emptiness and contraction on the exhale. And what we can do as we explore this organs of the lower body is we can actually pump the exhale out. Sometimes that can feel very good for the organs. So you can actually pump by contracting the belly. What's really happening is the diaphragm is lifting and just leaving room. So you might just try that a few times. If you do breath of fire, it's the same action, but it's slow. So it's, can you see my belly? So that's just feeling that area. We'll come, like I say, we'll come back to that. The actual first held pose is going to be on our backs. And what we want is to prop up our sacrum. Andrea, I don't know if you heard me get a block. I'm going to show you where we're headed, and then I can show you some modifications if this isn't good. We're just going to lie on our back. You don't have to sit on the block like I do. You can lie on your back and then put the block. And the whole idea is you want that block to be on the flat part of the pelvis. So no pressure on the spine, no pressure on the tailbone. You should be able to find a place where on the lowest level of the block, where the pelvis is just getting some pressure underneath. And that's going to be a little different for everybody, but play around with that. And if you don't have a block, you can actually do a pretty good job with a kind of a rolled up, clumpy blanket in that same area. So once you find that place, you can leave your knees bent if that's more comfortable, but some of you are going to enjoy straightening out the legs. So you're sort of in this reverse curve. Just straighten out those legs if that's comfortable. We're just going to lie here for a while. The arms can just be at the side, relaxed. Can even be on your belly. Sometimes bending the elbows and putting the hands on the belly will help find that lower belly breath. And you can come back to that yin breath where you are sort of counting the inhale and making that exhale nice and long. Maybe even feeling a little bit of that contraction at the bottom of the exhale. And just let those hips open. The front of the belly is getting a little stimulation, and that kidney area in the lower back is getting stimulated in a simple reclined hip lift. Yeah, too much for your back. Keep the knees bent. You'll still get some stimulation on the back of that just by having your hips up like that. I'm going to be here for a couple of minutes doing our beautiful yin, absolutely nothing. Trying to find that feeling of stillness, just letting the earth, the gravity, and the breath do the work for you. If at any time that gets too much for your back, just take the block out, come to a flat back. But some of you may actually enjoy a little bit higher block, but to me you all look pretty good. If the mind is still kind of chattering away, come back to the breath. Long exhales. We'll get ready to release this back sacrum stimulation as gently as you can. If your legs are straight, just bend enough to pull that block away. I want you to stay lying down. Just let the back now, with knees soft, knees bent, release into the floor. Just a little constructive rest for that back. And we can further stimulate that area with the little windshields. Rebecca's doing it naturally. Your back wants to do it. Just let the knees sway side to side. If you leave your knees a little wide, yeah, you can even kind of hold it on the side. You'll feel how it stimulates that lower back kidney area. Beautiful. And then for a little more release, hug your knees into the chest. Give yourself a nice hug. Some of you, I think, would enjoy a little happy baby here, which is a really good lower back release. So if you can get clasped behind your thighs or to your ankles or to your feet, just play there for a minute. You can roll side to side a little bit. Get a little massage action going, or just press the knees to the floor, to the side body, and feel that back. The tailbone might even lift off the floor. Should feel good. And then we're actually going to come out of it and lie on our belly for our seal back bend series. So take your time, just roll over. I always recommend a blanket at the hip bones so there's nothing digging into the ground when we're on our belly. No reason for that kind of discomfort. Now, we usually do this series with a Sphinx first, and you're welcome to go there. It's a good place to start. I'm actually going to have us try to come up to a seal first, if this is something you can achieve, because seal is still in that lower back. So if you can straighten your arms, you can put them as far forward as you need to so there's not too much strain. Find a comfortable position to the hands, turn them out. We're not working our shoulders or our upper back tonight. We really want that target area in the low back. So you can just sink into those, let the shoulders kind of collapse on you. Just traction that lower back into a back bend and seal for a minute and a half. You can always come out of it, lower the elbows, but this is really good for that meridian in the low back. Time it. Now this digestive channel, they call it, the stomach, actually goes all the way to the throat. So some of you will enjoy looking up for at least part of this, stretching out the front of the throat. Probably don't want to hold it too long, so let the head kind of find some movement that helps release any pressure up there. But nothing wrong with kind of looking up and getting that throat chakra to open up a little bit. Nothing going on in the legs, they're just hanging out back there. It's really nice to notice your breath in this pose because these back bends actually constrict the in-breath. So it's hard to breathe real deeply into the upper chest. And that exhale, that nice, long, deep, slow exhale, it's very quieting for the nerves. And anytime you need to come out of it, we're getting close, we'll just do our little pillow hands. Let that neck stretch out to one side and rest, completely rest for a few breaths when you're ready. So we're going to repeat seal with a little variation. So help yourself back into that back bend as high up as you feel is good and effective. You feel that stimulation, but there's no pain. Breathe. This time I'm going to recommend trying it with the hands pointed back. It's just a variation that actually kind of relieves the pressure in the shoulders for some people, if your hands will do that. And it's a really nice little wrist stimulation. So it's this little reverse hand seal. You might just try it. If not, just turn them back forward. But it's a nice little wrist pose. Or just play around with the hand position. You know, part of it back to the side. Anya, you look like a perfect seal. Nice long exhale when you think about it. And if that's a lot in your shoulder, like Andre, you might just spend part of this time on your elbows, still getting your back, but not over stressing the shoulders. I'm trying to see how many people are enjoying that reverse wrist. They think 0. You're not used to it. It's a good little wrist opener. A few more breaths wherever you are, or come down a little bit. And you can always just come all the way down onto pillow hands. Oh, nice. Nice, Leslie. And then let that neck stretch out in the other direction. So we often do Sphinx seal for a spinal target, and it is spine, but when we do seal like that, you're getting a lot of organ stimulation as well. Low lumbar. So we'll come up into a child pose to release our back. So just make your way. I hope this is a good release for most of you. You just let the buttocks aim towards the feet and let the arms stay long, and just let that spine stretch out so the tailbone is as far away from that back of the neck as it can be. That's what you're aiming for here. Sort of an extended child. Whatever works, whatever shape works to get a stretch. Now bring your hands closer to your knees. I'm going to show you a pose that is more of a kriya, but it's very good for the digestive organs. But it starts in whatever child works for you, meaning your knees might be a little wide or they might be closer together. But what we're going to do here is we're going to sort of sway side to side. So when I'm swaying left, I get a little bit of pressure on the left side of the abdomen from that thigh, and see what I mean? You'll feel it. Just might feel like you're wiggling the hips, trying to find those pressure points right and left, and we're just going to sway side to side. Actually very stimulating for the colons. I do this pretty much every morning just because I have digestive issues. And just do it a few more times. So if you can find something that feels like you're sort of rolling those organs around a little bit. And then we're going to come to melting heart puppy pose. It goes by various names. So this is another back bend. So we start on our knees. So we lift the buttocks off the heels. We're start aiming for sort of this little perpendicular hands to knees. But our hands are going to walk forward and maybe be as wide as they need to be. The idea of puppy pose is we would like to sink the chest, chin beneath, between those hands all the way to the floor. Now I can hold that pose for about half a second. So there's lots of variations if that's very, very intense. One is to just bend one arm and let that, just one side of the body sink for several breaths. And then change to the other arm. And we're probably going to hold this for a couple minutes, so I'll give you a minute call out, but just listen to your body. Try to get both those arms to stretch out as much. If this is just kind of torture, yes, pull your bolster up there so you're not going so deep. There's lots of compression limitations in this pose. Mine is the shoulder area. The bones just don't allow a deep, deep sink. So I often work on a head-on bolster, but play with it and breathe. And just explore how the breath feels in this funny kind of prone, face down inversion thing. If the belly's soft and it's responding to the breath, getting this sort of anti-gravity stimulation to those digestive organs, as well as the full spine, upper back. If you're very open, you may be looking forward and your chin's on the floor. Like I say, I have to come up quite a bit to still get stimulation in that area. It's a hard pose to hold for a real long time, and almost most of us have to adjust a little bit and slightly change the position of our arms, maybe a little out or a little in. Relieve some of the complicated holding or connective tissue in those shoulders. But focus on the belly. Even as we're doing this strong shoulder opener, focus on the breath. Good job. So just release the pose, give yourself a couple breaths, just come back into a more gentle child pose. And go ahead and roll up. I'm going to show you another sort of therapeutic digestive thing that I do. Again, not explicitly yin, but very stimulating to the organs we're working here. It's just a forward bend, but we use some pressure against the belly. So classically what we do is we put our fists into the side groin and we forward bend over it. So it's child pose, but with this little pressure on the belly. For some people that is not comfortable, especially if you ate or something. So you might do something softer, like just cross, almost like you have a tummy ache, cross your forearms and lean over those crossed arms and just put as much pressure on those organs as you can and still feel okay. Very relieving to stomach issues, believe it or not. Notice how if you try to breathe very deeply, you can really feel the soft tissue behind the belly responding to that pressure. If you ever do this on your own, you can use like a little blanket roll too. Oh, so that's a good minute. Let's go ahead and come out. Just relieve that pressure. Kind of sit up. Breathe for a minute. Rest before we do our next pose. We're going to actually come into a twist, and it's but we're going to try to do it from the belly to give a little bit more emphasis to this area. So we're going to start on our belly. You can watch me if this gets confusing. We're basically going to come into a cross-leg twist by rolling to one side. I'm rolling to the right and letting the right leg bend. So instead of bringing the knee over, the knee is our anchor in this version of the twist. And now we twist the upper body, let the arm expand and open the heart space. But we're twisting that belly area by that shape. So see if you can roll over, anchor one knee, whichever way you're turning, and anchor that knee, and then try to place your whole upper back on the floor. Mine does not go all the way to the floor. It doesn't matter if it goes all the way to the floor. You can see how you're getting the good twist. Yeah, hold on to your leg. That will kind of help anchor it down. Hold on to your knee like that. Yes. Just open. And if that arm's floating down, and that's what mine does, I just try to enjoy it, breathe into that opening as long as I can. Eventually, you might just drop that arm more down to the side and just let it be a focus in the belly. It might get tired of floating like that. So all twists are good for the digestive areas of the torso, but we're just trying to give a little bit of extra emphasis to that belly region in this twist. Greg could throw you a block down and you could rest your arm on the block, but you've gone down like a foot. Such a good shoulder opener. You're tight like we are. If you're not counting your breath, you might just come back and see if you're still in kind of a yin breath, a grounding breath. Long exhale. A little bit longer than the inhale. It's very soothing to this area. Got another 30 seconds here. Don't need to make any adjustments, or just enjoy sinking, deepening into the pose. And give yourself a couple of long breaths to just roll back over to the belly. Kind of mini little rest on the belly for a few breaths. And then roll and twist the opposite direction. Like if that gets to be like too much arm work, you can kind of bend the arm a little bit or lower it down from the shoulder, towards the hip. And just different little positions. It's can be kind of a strong shoulder opener and might take away from your breath into the belly, that twist action, although it is a very good shoulder opener. Can actually be quite sweet to feel how the exhale actually gives the spine more room to twist. This little internal rhythm going on. Got about 20 more seconds here. Give yourself a couple of breaths to roll on out of this twist. Recommend first coming to the belly, and then we're going to end up in a seated posture, but take your time to get there. Make sure you can see me. We're going to go into a version of saddle, and don't do anything for a minute because I want to talk you through it. The full saddle, is, some of you may just really want to get here, and it's going to be a long hold. So if you're doing a double saddle, it's the one where we're sitting between the feet and we're coming to recline. I don't get there very easily, but what I want you to see is when you're in a recline and saddle, you're getting, again, that stimulation in the lumbar spine, that kidney area. So most of us can't hold this for minutes and minutes. We want to protect our knees and stuff. If you can do the full recline saddle, go ahead and go there. And I'm going to talk the rest of us through kind of a half saddle, because a lot of times we do saddle for hip work. And so we just stay up as far as we need to. But since we want that back bend, we're going to take a single leg and wrap it around. Even if I have to keep this knee very bent, I'd like to get back enough down to the floor, if I can, to get that stress on the lumbar spine. So I'm going to see what we're doing. If we can find a half saddle that works, or a full saddle that isn't too deep. Yeah, I recommend a half. I'll time it out so that we switch in the middle. And there you go. So you got it. Down in your elbows, you might feel that low spine compression. Rebecca, I bet try bending your knee, the straight leg, the leg that's straight, try letting it bend and see if you can get it back a little further into a back bend. My point is, we want it to be a back bend. It's not always a strong back bend, but tonight we want it to be. Good job. Doing okay, Leslie. And can roll to one side a little bit. If you're in the full saddle, like Tanya, you're gonna hold it for about 5 minutes. So get comfortable. You might want something for your head. You find this, oh, good, Andrea. Not quite. Don't worry about that bend.
It bothers the top of my knee.
The knee, yeah. I'll tell you what, instead of doing saddle, Andrea, you can get that same back stimulation in dragon. So, okay, go, you know that one. Cushion your knee and just come up into a dragon where you're getting a little bit of lift and compression in that low spine. Okay. I know it's just not for everybody's knee. And anybody else, Dan, your knee's not liking it? An option here is a single leg lunge. And just lift and let that lower back feel some good therapeutic stretch. Mike, I wish I could talk to you. I bet it's hurting your knee. So for those of you in the half saddle, go ahead and change leg. You've been there 2.5 minutes. So just work your way around. Oh, let that hip rest. Position yourself on the other side. And lean back. You'll feel it. Even if you're up on your elbows, you'll feel that band of stimulation right above the pelvis in that low back kidney area. And you can get it in this dragon that you're in, you guys. You can support your hands on the top of the thigh. So you could make it about the hip. Usually we're using the dragon for a hip flexor, but as you rise up, instead of trying to get low, Andrea, just rise up so that low back is taking some of this. There you go. Kind of lift the chest and see if you can get that low back to energize. There you go. You got it. Yeah, saddle's one of the archetype postures. It's good for all kinds of things, but if you don't have the femur rotation, it is not worth stressing the knee, or sometimes even the ankle just hates that shape. It's just can't support it. And like I say, usually if we're doing it for hip and quad work, we can just stay sitting up, but we wanted a back bend here, so that's why I'm putting us through this. About 20 more seconds. And give yourself some breaths to come out of whatever you're using to stimulate that back. And want to relieve it by bending the other way. Since we're on our back, or come to your back, just give yourself a nice knee squeeze. Let that lower back counterpose into a little bit of a round tension. There you go. And we'll just do a nice, sweet little finishing series, kind of getting out of our torso and belly into some legs. So we'll just stay on our back. And if the knees are hugged into your chest, let one leg, I'm going to let my left leg go straight, keep the right leg bent. And then we're going to lift that leg vertical, and we'll go into some back of the leg stretches. So you know how that goes. We're going to find a holding place for the right leg, whatever leg's up. Support it with your hands, both hands on the leg, and just breathe the back of that leg nice and open. And again, when you come into that belly breath, you'll notice that on the exhale, long, slow exhale, that leg will just naturally release closer to the chest. Breath really does affect how the muscles respond to that stretch. And for the last part of the stretch, we're going to lift our shoulders and our head off the ground towards that knee, and using arm strength, a little bit of torso, core strength, just bring that head as close to the knee as it'll go. And then lie back down. Bend that straight left leg, if your left leg's in, we'll come into the reclining pigeon. So pull, thread the arms through that little figure four, and get into that hip. We haven't done a lot of hip openers tonight, so this should feel good. Open that hip. Breathe into that little reclined pigeon shape for a few breaths. And go ahead and release the pose. Uncross that foot off the opposite knee, and we'll start the other way. So the new leg, let it stretch up towards the ceiling. Find a good hold and begin breathing it open. Each breath, it comes a little more towards the chest as it gets long, the whole back of the leg. Contract the belly once in a while. At the end of that exhale, like we did at the beginning of class, it will give your organs more room to release into the stretch. We'll come up to the active stretch part of it where we grab behind at the ankle and just lift the torso up towards that leg. Bring it as far as it'll go. A little bit of yang. Muscle work. Muscle at the front of the leg actually helps lengthen the back of the leg. And then let it go. Let your torso come down to the floor. Bend that straight leg. Knee into that foot onto the knee, so you're in that figure 4. And thread the arms through and pull that knee in to get a nice IT band stretch. Release those hip flexors and lower back on this side. You go ahead and release the pose. And our final little organ massage is kind of like windshield wipers. In fact, some of you may just enjoy windshield wiper right here. What I was going to suggest is to let the arms come out to the side so our shoulders are grounded into the floor. You can actually lift without a hug, without using your arms. You lift your knees into your chest and actually massage side to side. So knees fall to the left, come back through center, fall to the right. You just find your own rhythm. Up and over, right and left. Massaging the kidneys, massaging those organs. A little bit of twist. Always good for the spine. And we're going to head to Shavasana. So as soon as you do a couple of those, you feel very complete. Just let the feet come to the ground. And one leg by one leg, stretch it out. Super slow motion, super gently. And we'll come into Shavasana with our hands on our belly, just as a way to come back to the focus of the belly breath. So both hands just kind of rest, palm down on the belly. Helps you feel the breath. You should actually feel your hands move, coming up and apart on the inhale, a little bit closer together on the exhale. It's like this little cue to tell yourself to keep breathing into the belly. Nowhere to go, nothing to do for 3 whole minutes. And just ever so gradually come back to the natural rhythm of the breath. Consciously let the chi flow back into the arms and legs. Find a sip of breath that lets you roll to one side. And sit up using your arms to help you so you're not using your back. We'll just bring our hands to the heart. Thank yourself for coming to the mat tonight. I hope it was worthwhile. Namaste.